Hey everyone, my name is Jonah. I'm 24 years old. I was born and raised in Netherlands. And if you had met me just 5 months ago, you wouldn't believe this version of me. Back then, I couldn't form a single smooth sentence in English. Not even "how are you" without freezing. I felt lost, embarrassed, and honestly, stuck. Today, I want to share how I went from that point to speaking English confidently in just 5 months, without expensive teachers, without traveling to an English speaking country, and without wasting time on methods that don't actually work. And before you think this is only my story, trust me, it's yours too. If you've ever felt frustrated trying to speak, embarrassed to open your mouth, stuck at the same level, or scared that you'll never get fluent, then stay with me because I was exactly where you are right now. And by the time you finish hearing my full journey, you'll know exactly how to change yours. Let's begin at the moment everything changed. Because my English journey didn't start with motivation. It started with a failure that hit me so hard it transformed my life. The moment that broke me, but also saved me. I always dreamed of working for a global tech company. My goal was to become a software engineer in a big US firm. I was good at coding, obsessed with learning, and I worked day and night toward that goal. Finally, the day came. I got an email. "Congratulations, Jonah. You've been selected for an interview." I remember reading that email over and over again. I imagined myself living in a new country, earning a great salary, learning from brilliant people. But then the interview happened. I opened Zoom, and suddenly I was staring at three native English speakers. They began talking, and immediately I felt like someone had hit the fast forward button. Their words blurred together. I couldn't keep up. I couldn't even understand simple questions. Then they asked, "Jonah, can you tell us about yourself and your experience in software development?" My heart dropped. I knew exactly what I wanted to say. But in English, my mind went blank. I stuttered, "Uh, yes, I am software. I do coding. Many projects. Good. I am very good." Their faces said everything. Silence cut through the call like a knife. They asked more questions. I froze again. At the end, one interviewer smiled politely and said, "All right, Jonah, thank you for your time." And I knew I had lost the opportunity, not because I lacked skill, but because I couldn't speak their language. That day, I realized something I had ignored for years. English isn't just a language, it's a key. And without it, every door to my dream stays locked. I felt ashamed, embarrassed, angry at myself. For years, I told myself, "I don't need English. I'm good enough without it." But that interview showed me the truth. Without English, I was invisible. That night, something inside me shifted. I made a decision. I will learn English, and I will learn it fast. Most people begin their English journey by paying for classes, but I didn't. Why? Because I had already tried that route. A year earlier, I spent money on an online English course. I studied grammar rules. I memorized vocabulary lists. I completed worksheets. But after 3 months of studying, I still couldn't have a simple conversation. So when I started again, I knew one thing. If I wanted real fluency, I needed a completely different system. Something practical, something real, something that actually works. That's when I created the 5-month method I'm going to share with you. Let's start from the beginning. Part 1. The first 15 days, fixing the real problem. Most beginners believe they can't speak because they don't know enough words. I thought the same thing, but that's a lie. I already knew hundreds of words, yet when I tried to speak, nothing came out. So during my first 15 days, I didn't learn a single new word, not one. Instead, I focused on something much more powerful, learning how to use the words I already knew. Here's exactly what I did. Step 1. I made a survival sentence list. I sat down and asked myself, what do I actually need to say every day? I wrote down 50 simple, essential sentences like, "Hi, how are you? Can you repeat that? I don't understand. I'm learning English. I need a coffee, please." Every morning I read all 50 sentences out loud, not once, not twice, 10 times. At first, my tongue felt heavy and awkward, but after a few days, these sentences became automatic. Step 2. I started talking to myself. This sounds silly, but it changed everything. Whenever I was alone, I spoke in English. My shower became a classroom. I'm taking a shower, the water is warm. I feel relaxed. Making breakfast? Same thing. I'm cooking eggs. I like eggs. They are easy to make. At first I felt weird, but then I realized no one can judge you when it's just you. This is the safest practice environment in the world. After 1 week, something amazing happened. My brain started thinking in English. Step 3. 5 sentences a day, but with emotion. Every day I picked 5 sentences from movies or real conversations. I didn't just read them, I copied them. I repeated each sentence 20 times with the same emotion, speed, rhythm, pronunciation. This fixed my accent faster than any teacher ever had. By the end of the first 15 days, I stopped translating in my head. I could speak basic sentences smoothly. I felt my confidence growing. English didn't feel impossible anymore, but this was only the beginning. After those 15 days, I was ready for the next level, the phase that changed everything. Part 2. When real speaking practice begins. After those first 15 days, I finally felt something shift inside me. My mind wasn't freezing anymore. Simple sentences flowed without that slow, painful translation process. But I knew it wasn't enough. I didn't want to speak only basic lines. I wanted to hold real conversations. I wanted to understand native speakers naturally. I wanted to think fast and respond without panic. So I created a second phase method, a system that forced my brain to function in English, not Dutch. And that's when everything accelerated. The question-answer method. My turning point. I realized something very important. When I tried to speak English, my brain took too long to process the words. It wasn't a vocabulary problem. It was a speed problem. My thoughts were slow. So I designed a technique to fix that. The question-answer method. Here's how it works. Step 1. Ask yourself a simple question in English. Step 2. Answer instantly. No thinking. Step 3. Repeat the answer with more and more details. For example, question: what did you do today? My first answer: I worked. Then I expanded. I worked on my project. I worked on my project for 3 hours. I worked on my project for 3 hours and then took a break. I worked on my project for 3 hours, took a break. and had some coffee. Each new version forced my brain to think faster and add more information. This exercise made a huge difference. My speaking speed improved, my sentences got longer, and the fear of speaking slowly disappeared. Another example. What did you eat for breakfast? Start small. I ate eggs. Add details in it. I ate eggs and toast. I ate eggs, toast, and a banana. I ate eggs, toast, and a banana because I was really hungry. Within a week, I noticed something incredible. I wasn't thinking in Dutch first. My answers came directly in English. 2. The echo technique, fixing my accent. Even when I was speaking confidently, something still bothered me. My accent was too strong. People understood me, but I didn't sound natural. So I began using the echo technique, the simplest and most powerful pronunciation tool I've ever used. Here's how it works. Step 1. Listen to a native speaker from movies, YouTube, or podcasts. Step 2. Pause after each sentence. Step 3. Repeat the sentence exactly. Same rhythm, same tone, same emotion, same speed. Example from a movie. Native speaker. I don't know what you're talking about. I paused. Then repeated. I don't know what you're talking about. Not in my voice, in their style. Another example. It was a beautiful day, so I decided to go for a walk. Every sentence I repeated became a mini lesson. After a month of doing this for 20 to 30 minutes daily, even native speakers told me, "Your English sounds really natural." That was the moment I realized. Accent is learned, not inherited. 3. The story method, the smart way to learn vocabulary. At first, I tried memorizing long lists of vocabulary words. It was useless. The human brain doesn't remember random lists, it remembers stories. So every day I took 5 new words and created a small story using all of them. Example words: excited, invitation, party, arrive, surprise. My story. I was excited because I got an invitation to a big party. When I arrived, everyone yelled, "Surprise!" It was actually my birthday party. This method helped me remember words effortlessly. No memorizing, just understanding and using them in real context. After 3 months, I learned over 1,000 new words without ever touching a vocabulary list. 4. Training. My brain to think in English. This was one of the biggest breakthroughs. Most learners struggle because they think in their native language, translate in their head, and then speak slowly. So I forced my brain to stop translating by doing these 3 things. A. I described everything around me in English walking outside. The sky is cloudy. The air feels warm. A cat is running across the street. Cooking? I'm cutting vegetables. The pan is getting hot. This rewired my brain. B. I asked myself questions and answered them. In English, what am I doing right now? I'm sitting on my chair, drinking coffee, and writing my notes. This habit improved my fluency faster than anything. C. I wrote a daily journal in English every night. No matter how tired I was, I wrote a few sentences about my day. The quality slowly improved. My sentences became more natural. My grammar became clearer, not by studying rules, but by using the language. 5. My 2-hour rule. This rule changed everything. Every single day, no matter what, I had to speak English for at least 2 hours. No excuses. If I had nobody to talk to, I talked to myself. If I didn't have time, I spoke while cooking, cleaning, walking. If I felt lazy, I told myself, English is my future. I don't get to quit. This consistency is what made me fluent. During this phase, my brain stopped translating. I became more confident. I started sounding more natural. Speaking no longer felt scary. English didn't feel foreign anymore. But the biggest transformation was still ahead. Because after mastering basic fluency, I faced the hardest stage of all, talking to native speakers. For real. Part 3. The breakthrough phase, when everything finally made sense. By this point, my English had improved more than I ever imagined. I could speak basic sentences without translating. I could think in English. My pronunciation sounded natural. My confidence was growing. But I realized something important. Understanding grammar from books is different from using grammar in a real conversation. So I entered a new phase, not focused on memorizing rules, but on mastering the way native speakers actually use English. And this is where my fluency really skyrocketed. 1. Learning real-life grammar, not school grammar. I started paying attention to how native speakers structured their sentences in movies, podcasts, and interviews. Whenever I heard a phrase that sounded natural, I paused and asked, why did they say it like that? For example, I noticed people said, I have been learning English for 5 months, but in school I learned, I am learning English for 5 months. That was my first big light bulb moment. The English taught in classrooms doesn't always match the English people actually speak. So I began studying the real patterns. When to use I've been, how native speakers shorten sentences, how they connect sounds, what words they emphasize, and what grammar rules they ignore completely. This changed everything. I wrote down common structures and forced myself to use them every day. Slowly, my sentences started sounding more natural, not robotic. 2. The mystery of prepositions, solving it once and for all. Prepositions used to confuse me like crazy. On the bus, but in the car, at night, but in the morning. Why? Instead of memorizing rules, which never helps, I carried a small notebook everywhere. Whenever I heard a confusing preposition, I wrote the phrase, the example, the sentence it came from. Then I listened to how native speakers used it again and again. Over time, the confusion disappeared because I learned them in context, not from rules. 3. Writing a diary to build natural sentence flow. I started writing a diary every night, even if I was tired. At first, my entries were simple. Today I went to work, I was tired, I ate pizza, it tasted good. Nothing special. But as days passed, I tried to mimic the writing style of native English speakers. I looked at blogs, news articles, books, stories. I studied how they combined sentences. I copied their style in my diary. Soon, my writing improved dramatically. Not because I studied grammar, but because I mimicked fluent English. 4. Shadowing, the technique that supercharged my fluency. Shadowing became my daily ritual. I wore headphones, played a video or podcast, and repeated every sentence right after the speaker, without pausing. It felt like running behind a runner who is faster than you. You just keep up. For at least 20 minutes every day I did this. 1. Listen. 2. Repeat instantly. 3. Match speed and pronunciation. 4. Keep going without stopping. Within weeks, my fluency became smoother, my pronunciation became clearer, my speech rhythm matched native speakers, and I started sounding much more confident. Shadowing pushed my brain to respond faster than ever before. 5. Watching movies the right way. I didn't watch movies just for fun. I studied them. Here's what I did. Turn on English subtitles. Watch 1 minute. Pause, repeat the dialogue out loud. Copy the intonation and rhythm. By doing this, I learned natural expressions, slang, real conversational phrases, tone, emotional delivery. Soon, speaking English started to feel natural, not forced. 6. Building confidence, the most overlooked step. Many people know English, but freeze when it's time to speak. Why? Because they fear being judged. I used to be the same. I was terrified of making mistakes in front of others. But then I realized something. Native speakers don't care if you make mistakes, but they care if you're afraid to speak. So I made a promise to myself. I will speak even when I'm scared, especially when I'm scared. And I started practicing everywhere, with shopkeepers, with coworkers, at cafes, with strangers, and even with myself. Every conversation, no matter how small, became practice. 7. Facing my biggest fear, native speakers. This part terrified me the most. It's one thing to speak English alone. It's another thing to speak to someone who grew up with the language, but I knew I had to face it. So I prepared 10 common conversation topics. How was your day? What do you do for work? What's your favorite food? Where are you from? What are your goals? I practiced these topics every day for 2 weeks. Then I took a deep breath and joined an online English-speaking group. At first, my hands were shaking, but soon I realized something powerful. Everyone was learning. Everyone was nervous. Everyone was trying their best. And nobody judged me. The day everything changed. One evening, I joined a group call with people from the US, Brazil, and the UK. This time, I didn't hesitate. I didn't freeze. I didn't translate in my mind. I spoke clearly, confidently, naturally. People listened to me. They nodded. They responded. They understood me. For the first time in my life, I felt fluent. It felt like magic, but it wasn't magic. It was months of discipline, practice, and belief. That night, I realized I'm not the same Jonah who once failed an interview because of English. I'm someone new, someone stronger, someone who worked for this, applying for my dream job again and winning. This time, 5 months after starting my journey, I decided to apply for my dream job again. But this time, I was not the nervous, uncertain version of Jonah. I was confident, prepared, capable. During the interview, I understood every question I answered. Without hesitation, I spoke clearly and naturally. I showed them who I had become. A few days later, I got the call. Jonah, congratulations. You got the job. I stood there holding my phone, hands shaking, eyes full of tears. The same company that once rejected me now wanted me on their team. My starting salary? $6,000 a month. More than I ever imagined earning. When I got that call, I froze. 5 months earlier, I couldn't speak a basic English sentence without panic. Now I was being offered a job with a salary I used to only dream about. The first thing I did was call my parents. My mom picked up. I could hardly speak. I said, "Mom, I got the job." There was silence. Then she started crying softly. My father, a man who rarely shows emotion, simply said, "We always knew you could do it." That sentence hit me harder than anything else in my journey. In that moment, I realized I didn't just learn English for myself. I learned it for them, for their sacrifices, for their belief in me. With my first salary, I bought my father a watch he had always wanted but never bought for himself. I bought my mother a gold necklace, something she admired for years but never asked for. When I gave them the gifts, they tried to refuse. "We don't need anything, son," they said, but I shook my head. "No, this is my thank you for everything." Seeing their faces, that combination of pride, surprise, and pure joy, that was the moment I knew every second of struggle had been worth it. The real transformation. I learned something deeper than English on this journey. Fluency isn't just about language. It's about identity. It's about becoming the version of yourself you always wanted to be. 5 months of discipline turned me from a hesitant speaker to a confident communicator, a rejected candidate to a valued employee, someone who doubted himself to someone who believed, someone limited by language to someone empowered by it. And now I want to share the core lessons that shaped my success, lessons that changed my life. These are not theories. These are the exact principles that took me from failure to fluency. Your mindset controls everything. If you believe English is too hard, your brain will make it true. When I changed my belief from "I'm bad at English" to "I'm improving every day," everything shifted. My confidence grew. My willingness to practice increased. My fear decreased. Mindset comes before fluency. Surround yourself with the language. I made English part of my daily environment. Phone settings. English. YouTube content. English. Music plus subtitles. English. Social media. English. Small descriptions of objects around me. English. Bit by bit, my brain started absorbing the language naturally. Without effort, without memorizing. English became a lifestyle, not a subject. Speak first, correct later. Most learners wait until they feel ready, but that day never comes. I made a rule. I speak even if I sound imperfect. Native speakers do not care about mistakes. They admire the effort. The more I spoke, the faster I improved. Listen, like your life depends on it. Listening was one of my most powerful tools. Podcasts, movies, YouTube, interviews. I soaked up everything. But I didn't listen passively. I shadowed. I echoed. I mimicked. And slowly, I started sounding like the people I listened to. Learn vocabulary through stories, not lists. Lists make you forget. Stories make you remember. Every day I created one small story with 5 new words. This method made vocabulary stick automatically. Grammar is learned by using, not studying. I didn't drown myself in grammar books. I learned grammar by speaking, listening, writing, noticing patterns. When I made a mistake, I corrected it. When I heard a natural expression, I copied it. Real grammar lives in real conversation, not textbooks. Consistency beats talent. Some days I practice for hours, some days only 10 minutes, but I practiced every single day. Fluency is not about big effort, it's about small effort repeated. Even on the days I felt tired, even on the days I felt hopeless, I kept going. And that consistency changed everything. Imagine your life. 6 months from now, imagine speaking English without freezing understanding. Native speakers naturally getting better job opportunities, feeling confident in conversations traveling without fear of speaking, watching movies without subtitles, expressing your real thoughts in English, feeling proud of yourself. This is not impossible. This is not unrealistic. I was just like you, confused, frustrated, lost. If I can do it, you can do it too. If you're watching this and feeling discouraged, listen to me carefully. You don't need perfect grammar. You don't need expensive courses. You don't need to move to another country. You just need consistency, courage, daily practice, and belief in yourself. The pain of discipline lasts a few months. The pain of regret lasts a lifetime. Choose discipline. Choose growth. Choose the future you want. Start today, not tomorrow, not next week. Today, right now. Your future self is waiting, and they're proud of you already.